Okay, on to the next one. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only, and just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, we're going over the new orders in the Idaho student murder case. We have the orders regarding all of the motions that have been submitted from both the state and the defense. We have quite a few things being talked about regarding the alibi, 404 evidence, the bushy eyebrows, the make and model of the vehicle, certain things that can be said in court. There are a lot of decisions being made. We've gone through a majority of them because they crammed a whole bunch of them into a 17-page document. If you missed those two videos where I went over the defense's motions in one and then the state's in the other, and the links for them will be down in the description box. Now, this next one in order is about the make and model of the vehicle. Now, what we have learned through the closed sessions in January, going through the transcript whenever Payne was on the stand, and basically just through the last almost 3 years of gathering information on this case, is that they didn't have a true understanding of what vehicle they were honestly looking for until after that phone call from the FBI on December the 19th. There's just no way around that. There were 7 different makes and models, and that's just what we know of. There could have been more. They were also looking at a Nissan at some point in time. There is no definitive answer to the vehicle. And the only reason why they're trying to claim there is one now is because it is very similar to the one that their suspect does drive. But before they had Bryan Kohberger's name, the whole no license plate in the front situation wasn't even a thing. That was added to this so-say living document that ended up being the probable cause for arrest after they realized what was closest to what matched their suspect. There was no way in those videos, the way that the lights hit the cameras at night, that they could have ever been able to tell if there was even a front license plate on there. They even made it very clear that it was an unknown situation. It didn't matter until it mattered. And those kinds of things matter, because if they had no real answer and then all of a sudden they reversed it from the person to the evidence instead of the evidence to the person, that's an issue. That technically means that that question is still unanswered, especially whenever what we've been told is that the make and model wasn't finalized, because remember, the expert wasn't really quite too confident. He was more confident in a different time frame, but went ahead and agreed with what his superiors were asking of him, I guess. Now, what we've been hearing in court and what we've been seeing in the documents is that it wasn't until the 1125 Ridge Road camera came through the system that they finally had a verification of the white Hyundai Elantra with a certain time frame, okay? But we also have heard that they cannot actually validate that the 1112 camera for the King Road incident in the probable cause order that does the 3-point turn and all the things is the exact same car from Ridge Road. They're guesstimating that. But they also told us there was over 20,000 different vehicles that match that description in the area. So for there to have been several that night and they miss one turn somewhere because there's not enough cameras to take up space is a huge possibility. And if they can't validate that the cars are the exact same car, then how are we supposed to believe that the rest of the camera footage matches if there's already so much discrepancy in the 2 closest ones? There's just too many questions. So when it comes to the defendant's motion regarding the make and model of the vehicle, I can see the reason why they're wanting so much to not actually be admitted here, because there's already way too many questions with just the evidence itself. Now, we've also had Ann Taylor stand up in court and tell us that the vehicle at Floyd's cannabis shop is not Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. And technically it couldn't be, because if they're claiming that he went the opposite direction, then none of those vehicles would be Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. What I'm not understanding is how they have no camera footage that show a profile of someone's face, even with the windows up. If the light goes in through the windows a certain way from a street lamp or something else, a profile can normally be seen and you can do some sort of comparison. There's nothing showing a back license plate in any of these videos, not even the ones on the highways, not any of the commercial cameras that they're claiming that they have footage from. They don't have any of them that show a parking sticker or anything like that because they haven't told us that they do. And if they did, they would have known that before they wrote the probable cause for arrest. And they don't have any of that in there. There's nothing that actually links the vehicle that they're claiming is SV1 to Bryan. They literally reversed it once they had his name. I don't understand why more people aren't seeing that. So let's see what Hippler had to say. Introduction. In the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, surveillance videos from various locations near the crime scene picked up footage of what law enforcement believed to be the same vehicle as SV1, Suspect Vehicle 1. The white sedan that was seen arrive at, this should say seen arriving at and then departing from, but instead it says seen arrive at and then depart from. Again, there's so many errors in this. Like, I make mistakes. I'm just a YouTuber. Okay, I'm not claiming to be a professional damn nothing. These people are under oath to tell the truth. They have people that double, triple, quadruple check everything that they do, apparently. There's offices of people, there's clerks of court, there's secretaries, there's all kinds of people that touch these things. And plus the judge also, because this is his order, okay, he also is supposed to go over this and read this and make sure that it's perfect. This is a court order. This is official documentation. We see more and more and more errors the longer this continues. They're getting sloppy and careless, and it shows. Anyway, the white sedan that was seen arriving at and then departing from the area of 1122 King Road at the time of the homicides. From one such video, law enforcement determined the vehicle was a 2011 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. Now, we know that that's not technically true with the way that they're putting this because it was not the 1112 camera where they got the clarification of what the vehicle was. It was Ridge Road, and they know that it was Ridge Road. It's literally on like official documented filed paperwork that it was Ridge Road. Defendant seeks an order precluding the state from referring to the vehicles depicted on the various surveillance videos as the same vehicle, i.e. Suspect Vehicle 1, and from asserting that Suspect Vehicle 1 is a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. He argues that these are speculative conclusions that invade the province of the jury. The state responds that it intends to elicit expert testimony establishing the vehicles are the same, and such testimony will be neither speculative nor otherwise improper. Oral argument on the motion was held on April 9, 2025, after which the court took the matter under advisement. The court finds that the state may present expert opinion that the vehicles depicted in the videos are the same vehicle as Suspect Vehicle 1, as well as the make and model thereof. No, what I want is an expert to say that it's Bryan Kohberger's vehicle. I want someone to look at what they have in evidence and point out the very specific details that prove it's Bryan Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra. That's what needs to happen here. Standard. The admissibility of expert opinion testimony is discretionary. And then it cites State versus Alvarez from 2013. The trial court must correctly perceive the issue as one of discretion. 2. Act within the boundaries of such discretion. 3. Act consistently with any legal standards applicable to the specific choices before it. And 4. Reach its decision by an exercise of reason. Facts. Following the homicides, law enforcement gathered video surveillance from various locations surrounding the crime scene, including from 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of the crime scene. That's the one with the porch with the little pumpkins that saw the car doing the 3-point turn and all the things. We've recently seen a screenshot. I'll put it right here. And you can't tell anything when it comes to this vehicle. You really just can't. Not by what they're giving us anyway. That video footage showed a white sedan, suspect vehicle 1, enter the King Road neighborhood at 4:04 a.m. and then depart from the area at a high rate of speed at 4:20 a.m. The same footage showed what law enforcement believed to be the same vehicle make 3 initial passes by the crime scene in the 30 minutes before its 4:04 a.m. entry. Surveillance videos from 5 other locations within 0.6 miles of the crime scene also captured what law enforcement believed to be suspect vehicle 1 in the hour preceding the crime. And there's a footnote 1 that just says Agent Rob Hill's surveillance review report. So, which was expected. There's definitely going to be other people's information being submitted that we hear about that we hadn't heard about prior. There were several agents looking through all this stuff, not just the ones we've currently heard about. Based on the direction of travel and timestamps from these videos, investigators mapped what they believed to be suspect vehicle 1's route of travel. And there's a second footnote that just says Exhibit S-3 maps. I'll throw a couple of them on the screen from previous exhibits that we have been able to see before. They have actually released a lot more stuff than they really have been ever talking about ever doing before. This judge really was serious about making things not so private. So it was good to see the way that they are putting things together. It makes their theory or their storyline makes more sense for how they're trying to present it, but it still honestly doesn't answer any other questions. One of the surveillance videos relied upon by law enforcement was from a camera located at 1125 Ridge Road. Video footage captured at 4:01 a.m. from this camera provided a clear view of the white sedan depicted therein, which law enforcement believed shared similar characteristics to a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. And this is where Agent Anthony Emel's report comes in with the make and model chart. Now, again, there was at least seven. And Hyundai was not always the original. It was originally a Nissan that they were looking at, and then something changed it. While there is no continuous footage showing the vehicle identified in the Ridge Road footage traveling to the crime scene, the Ridge Road camera was located zero point 0.3 miles down the road from the crime scene. From this collective evidence, investigators believe the vehicle seen on the Ridge Road footage at 4:04 a.m. was suspect vehicle 1 captured on the 1112 King Road footage at 4:04 a.m. But I need more than it looks sort of similar in a black and white blurry video. Like they have to do I'm sorry, and not sorry about it. They've got to do better. It has to be more specific. Analysis. Based on the lack of continuous footage showing the vehicles captured in the various surveillance videos traveling to the crime scene at 4:04 a.m., defendant argues it would be improper for the state to identify those vehicles as SV1 or otherwise identify suspect vehicle 1 as a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra. He argues any such testimony is speculative and therefore not relevant, unfairly prejudicial, and invades the province of the jury. The state responds that the testimony is based on logical, educated inferences drawn by law enforcement from the surveillance videos. It adds that the testimony does not invade the province of the jury and is highly relevant to determine whether the vehicle captured at 4:04 a.m. on the 1112 King Road camera was defendant's vehicle. But you can't prove that. You didn't even have anything about there being a license plate in the front or not until after you knew about the state where this guy was from. That matters. To the extent defendant is attempting to prohibit the state from arguing or asserting as fact that the vehicles are the same or that suspect vehicle 1 is a 2014 to 2016 Hyundai Elantra, he is correct that it would be speculative and improper without expert testimony to provide a basis to make this contention. However, this proscription does not prevent the state from eliciting such opinions from law enforcement and asserting this as an allegation during the trial based on that testimony. An opinion is speculative when it theorizes about a matter as to which evidence is not sufficient for certain knowledge and suggests only possibilities. Here, law enforcement's opinion that the vehicle captured on the Ridge Road camera at 4:04 a.m. is SV1 captured at 4:04 a.m. on the 1112 King Road footage is not based on unsupported theories or possibilities. Rather, the opinion is based on the investigators' training and experience and educated inferences drawn from their review of surveillance footage from 6 locations within a mile of the crime scene during the hour preceding the crime. From this evidence, the investigators were able to map what they believed was the suspect vehicle route of travel preceding the crime, as well as identify its make and model. But the precise dates, when it comes to what you were actually working with and what was causing you to look everywhere but Bryan Kohberger up until 1219, is what's important here. Defendant ignores this collection of evidence and focuses instead on solely 2 points of reference. However, the investigators had multiple data points from which they could reasonably infer that the vehicle seen on Ridge Road at 4:04 a.m. was the same that had been seen driving throughout the area in the preceding hour, including the 3 passes by the crime scene. Further, based on the direction of travel of the Ridge Road vehicle and its distance from and location respective to 1112 King Road, it is likewise reasonable to infer, notwithstanding the lack of continuous footage, that it continued traveling along Ridge Road until it reached King Road. So again, you're just assuming. You're just assuming that car could have turned off somewhere, that car could have pulled into a driveway and parked somewhere, and then another car could have been coming from somewhere else and ended up at that spot. You told us there was over 20,000 vehicles that matched that description. For there to be several matching that description, driving in that area around the same time is not an unlikely scenario based on what law enforcement themselves have already told us. That was their mistake. They made this already way too questionable with just the information they were giving us. Them guessing again is not enough. They have to actually be able to prove it was his vehicle. There has to be a way to be able to actually prove that if it's true. They haven't been able to do that so far. Nothing is actually proving anything concrete. It's again a bunch of assumption. Such opinion testimony would not usurp the jury's role as fact finder. The jury is tasked with determining whether defendant committed the alleged crimes. The state asserts that the perpetrator drove suspect vehicle 1, and based on the totality of evidence, that it was defendant's Hyundai Elantra. There's not any totality of evidence. I need proof that he was in the area before you can tell me that it was his vehicle without actually pointing out any specifics. If you can't say his car has this indentation on the fender and in this camera we have that exact same indentation, or there's a parking sticker on the left corner on the back windshield and we have that exact same insignia showing up on this camera. If you don't have anything like that, then this isn't good enough. The investigators' observations and inferences about the route of travel of the vehicle, its make and model, whether the Ridge Road footage from 4:01 a.m. and the King Road footage from 4:04 a.m. depict the same vehicle, and whether the depictions were all the perpetrator's vehicle are relevant to this determination. The jury is free to weigh this evidence and the investigator's testimony against that offered by defendant and decide for itself what the surveillance videos depict and whether it supports its ultimate conclusion bearing on defendant's guilt. Finally, defendant's only articulated basis for excluding the testimony, IRE 403, is that it would be prejudicial due to its speculative nature. Because the court has found otherwise, there is no basis for its exclusion under IRE 403, as its relevance in substantially outweighed by the factors in which Rule 403 is concerned. Order. Based on the foregoing, defendant's motion in limine regarding the make and model of suspect vehicle is denied, meaning the state can say, this is the Hyundai Elantra that was there. It perfectly matches the one that Bryan Kohberger has, and they're not going to really be asked to truly prove it. Besides, it just sort of looks the same, because that's really all they have. It just sort of looks the same. That's it for that one. It was only about 5 pages. Another one denied for the defense. It's not surprising. It's not shocking. Now, again, if they had actual proof that it was Bryan Kohberger's vehicle, if they had something about his vehicle that they could physically see in the footage, then it wouldn't be a big deal. But they don't have any of that. They don't have anything proving who the driver was, how many people were even in the vehicle. And remember, whenever they came out and told us about the vehicle they were looking for, they made it sound as if there was more than one person in that vehicle that they wanted to talk to. That's pretty important to remember. Now, the next one that we have to go over will be regarding the verbiage used during the trial regarding the DNA from the knife sheath. So, Until then, let me know how you guys are feeling about all of these orders from Judge Hippler so far down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. And please don't forget to make sure that notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.